Hello traders, this is Jim Comiskey coming to you live from ADMIS, ADM Investor Services. It is Friday the 30th. We're coming up on about 10 to 1. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, the opinions that I am no doubt about to express are mine and mine alone, not necessarily shared by admins and their management, although they probably are and should be. Anyways, give you a little color on the metal complex amongst other things. First of all, the gold is at 1673.30, up $16. Okay, fairly active day in the metal. Gold, the low has been 1661.20, the high 1672.70. Silver, up 47 cents, 32.52 and a half, 32.28 half low, 32.67 and a half the high. Support and resistance, silver. First of all, gold rather. Okay, we got the pivot comes in all the way down at 1658. Okay, first support comes in right here, 1671. Okay, and then again, below that 1658, below that 1651. Resistance comes in at 1675, and then 1681. Pivot and silver, 32.11. Currently, again, silver's at 32.52. All right, so that pivot will act as support. All right, we have resistance coming in right here at 32.60. Again, the high is 67, so we did have some bleed there. Above that, 32.78. All right, additional downside support silver, 31.93. Below that, 31.44 half. Okay, really a lot to talk about. Where to start? Okay, brilliant article on Zero Hedge. Okay. Gentleman named Jim Grant. Grant's an interest rate observer. If you haven't been, I've been following Jim for decades. Truly a deep thinker. Okay, very smart guy. Anyways, he has an article, and it truly is a must-read. Again, it's posted on Zero Hedge. Jim Grant crucifies the Fed, explains why a gold standard is the best option. All right, let's just start this off by, I'm going to read this from, this was on Reuters a while back. Bernanke says gold standard wouldn't solve problems. Okay, of course it wouldn't, because what gold, being on a gold standard effectively creates the money supply and restricts the money supply and expands the money supply during good times. Okay, and it would give Bernanke very little to do. Okay, since this is a quote here now, again, Reuters carried this March 20th. Since the gold standard determines the money supply, right, there is not much scope for the central bank to use monetary policy to stabilize the economy, Bernanke said. Under a gold standard, typically the money supply goes up and interest rates go down in a period of strong economic activity. So that's the reverse of what a central bank would normally do today. Okay, so in other words, by being on a gold standard, okay, the money supply and interest rates, the economy self-regulates. Bernanke doesn't think that's possible. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to read some of this now, directly word for word. Again, the heading here, the title here is Jim Grant Crucifies the Fed, explains why a gold standard is the best option. In the not quite 100 years since the founding of your institution, America has exchanged central banking for a kind of central planning, and the gold standard for what I will call the PhD standard, the Ivy Hill standard. I regret the changes and will propose reforms, or I suppose re-reforms, as my program is very much in accord with that of the founders of this institution. Have you ever read the Federal Reserve Act? The authorizing legislation projected a body to provide for the establishment of the Federal Reserve banks to furnish an elastic currency to afford means of rediscounting commercial paper and to establish a more effective supervision of the banking in the United States. Okay. And for other purposes. By now, we can identify the operative phrase, which is, of course, for other purposes. You are lucky, if I may say so, that I'm the one who's standing here, not the ghost of Senator Carter Glass. We'll talk about Senator Glass in a little bit. He's the one who Glass-Steagall was named after. Okay, and he actually wrote the Glass-Owens Act of 1913 that established the Federal Reserve. All right, but again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, I'm going right back to it, word for word. Not the ghost of Senator Carter Glass. One hesitates to speak for the dead, but I'm reasonably sure that the Virginia Democrat who regarded himself check this out, as the father of the Fed would skewer you, he hated paper money and government debt. He didn't like Wall Street either, and I'm going to guess that he wouldn't much care for the Fed raising up stock prices under the theory of the portfolio balance channel. It inflamed him that during a congressional debate over the Federal Reserve Act, Elijah Root, Republican senator from New York, impugned the anticipated Federal Reserve notes as a fiat currency. Okay, now this was in 1912. Fiat indeed, Glass snorted. The nation was on the gold standard, and it would forever remain on the gold standard. The projected notes of the Federal Reserve would, of course, be convertible into gold on demand at the fixed statutory rate of $20.67 per ounce. Okay. Boy, how times have changed. Yes, Carter Glass, okay, 1913 Glass-Owen Act, okay, created the Federal Reserve. Glass-Steagall Act, 1933, okay. That basically separated commercial banking and investment banking, okay, because during the Depression now, all right, it had been determined, certainly by Glass himself, okay, that the commercial banks, okay, had been in essence playing the stock market, gambling with their deposit, or the investment banks rather, have been gambling with the depositors' money. Does that sound familiar? Anyone remember MF Global 4.5 months ago? Anyways, so along comes Greenspan in 1999 and repeals Glass-Steagall. Now all of a sudden you've got investment banks that are also, can merge their activities with commercial banks. You had Citibank and Solly. That was probably one of the biggest examples. MF Global, John Corzine's stated desire to become an investment bank. Take this little itty bitty commodities house in Chicago, turn it into an investment bank. How'd that work out for you? Okay, I'm just going to kind of continue here, right? And basically, as soon as this was repealed, Glass-Steagall repealed, I mean, it really was a big part of the cause of the 2008 crash. All right, very, very little doubt in my mind. All right, so you've got the gentleman that wrote the act, dead set against basically heightened speculative activity, truly for a gold standard, and a separation of investment and commercial banking activities. And along comes a whole new breed of New York / East Coast PhDs. And look what happened. Okay. All right, I'm going to change the subject here. We got a little more time. Maybe I'll do two. Thanks, T. All right. Right. Okay. So, gas prices. They didn't have to gas up today, but I drove by a gas station local here in Chicago. Gas is like $4.78. Okay, a gallon, March 30th. So, on a day like this, okay, here, this is actually a story in the Washington Guardian. Okay, on Thursday. Actually, the title of this is Chu and Jackson trips create awkward backdrop for gas price debate. On Thursday, world leaders were exploring a rare coordinated release of strategic oil reserves to jolt oil prices back into submission before they wrecked the economic recovery. So where were Obama's two top cabinet-level energy advisors on the eve of such a momentous day? Well, Energy Secretary Stephen Chu, you remember him, he's the one that doesn't own the car, right? Doesn't have to. He's got a taxpayer-financed limo and chauffeur at his disposal. Anyways, he was in Tokyo, taking in Major League Baseball's opening day game, 7,000 miles away. All right. Chu's diversion came during a week-long taxpayer-funded trip to Asia. I'm sure he worked quite hard. That focused on nuclear security, fair enough, and the national security implications of the shrinking supply of rare earth metals, which are crucial to America's clean energy future. Fair enough. Okay, 7,000 miles away. I wouldn't even go. If you'd like to do the calculation on how much jet fuel it takes to fly 7,000 miles, check that 14,000 miles and just, I don't know, divide it by one whatever of an aircraft. How much petrol do you think he went through? All right, on the same day, okay, Lisa Jackson. Remember Lisa Jackson? She's the EPA administrator, the one who basically effectively shut down the ongoing construction of coal. of coal power plants going forward. Okay, because she is going to regulate the greenhouse gas. It'll make it too expensive for coal power to be used going forward. And anyways, she went to Paris. Isn't that nice? A spring trip to Paris on taxpayer dime to discuss urban sustainability and participate in a multinational discussion on global economic development. Her trip came just days after two separate federal courts rebuked her agency for overreaching on regulatory issues. Even top Democrats accused the EPA of wrecking the future of West Virginia's signature coal industry with new regulations on power plants. Yeah. So Linda Jackson is in Paris talking about global economic development. All right. I'm going to stop there. Okay, I'm getting a little bit too angry. Anyways, if you'd like to contact me, please feel free to do so. But you could leave a comment here on the chain, or just give me a call. My toll-free number is 888. I'll get this memorized soon. 888-935-7979. My outside number 312-242-7996, or just shoot me an email. My email address is just jim.comiskey, COMISKEY @archerfinancials.com. Look forward to hearing from you soon. Good luck and good trading. Take care.